It's Tuesday, July 16, and this is your Barbados Today Evening News Update. So glad you can join us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Guilty as charged. 3 former students of the Princess Margaret Secondary School were this afternoon declared guilty of manslaughter in the No. 2 Supreme Court. An 8-member jury handed down the verdict just before 4 p.m. today. The 3, Shaquille Shamal Khalil Bradshaw, Donico Javier Aline, and Maria Antoinette Goddard, all from Ballsland, Christchurch, are convicted of unlawfully killing 11-year-old Ian Elroy Gibson, a student from the same school, on September 20, 2009. Their bail was not revoked today. However, they will return to court tomorrow when Justice Randall Worrell will rule on the matter. Work grounded to a halt today at the National Sports Council after workers walked off the job in protest of environmental issues at the My Lord's Hill St. Michael facility. This morning, workers complained of feeling sick, and the Deputy General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, Dwayne Paul, told Barbados Today the situation was caused by an infestation of bedbugs and a strong chemical odor.
The Barbados Workers Union was called this morning by its membership here at the National Sports Council, and unfortunately we came this morning and found a number of serious issues which really and truly should not have been. We have the building behind us, which is the National Sports Council offices, were fumigated over the weekend for clearly what is an infestation of bed bugs, which was not initially reported to the Ministry of Health, and their officers from the Ministry of Health only arrived this morning after the complaints were raised about the scent coming from the fumes from treating the building this morning, which was closed up this morning. And the Ministry of Health officials clearly pointed out that they should have been notified of the infestation ahead of time, not after. Our investigations this morning revealed that the staff was made aware of this issue. They management aware of this issue more than a month ago, and we've been slow to act. The furniture that you see behind me went out for industrial cleaning due to the infestation of bed bugs. And unfortunately, the furniture was returned this morning, while returned over the weekend, placed in the building wet. And therefore the staff presented themselves to work this morning, entered, was confronted with the fumes, and was also confronted with wet furniture when they went to see that their original desk.
Later this evening, Acting Sports Minister Cook Humphrey told Barbados Today the workers will be relocated to the Wildy Gymnasium for the rest of the week. In other news this Tuesday, government has started the search for a new controller of customs and other senior officers to strengthen the operations of customs. Word of this today from Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn, as he led off debate on the Customs Amendment Bill in Parliament this morning. Strawn told the House there will also be 3 deputy controllers and an expert to help reposition the department, which is critical to the success of the Barbados economic recovery and transformation plan.
We have, sir, as part of the rebuilding of the Customs Department, in the last few weeks, sir, we have advertised for the post of controller, as well as deputy controllers as well. There are meant to be 3. And this, sir, this demonstrates the seriousness that this government sees the rebuilding of the Customs Department as a critical department for the success of the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Plan. And once those persons are recruited, sir, we have also engaged a long-term customs expert to help support that management team. We have also, in recent weeks, sir, we have established a customs officer for position because there were a number of officers within the Customs Department who were designated as clerical officers, who were essentially performing customs functions. But because of the name of the position, sir, you would have had some issues with persons being transferred, which obviously impacted the department. So we have since corrected that, and we're in the process, sir, of making sure that those persons who perform customs functions are so designated as part of the rebuilding effort with respect to the department.
Apart from the hiring of more resources, Minister Strawn served notice that customs will soon be going fully digital, allowing people to clear their goods electronically.
The introduction of this technology, we want from inception to make sure that, one, not just the officers themselves, but the various private sector stakeholders come to the appreciation that we have to employ the full use of the system so as to allow for greater efficiencies to come from the Customs Department, but certainly, sir, that the paper that is kept in the offices, not just in Customs, but certainly across the board in terms of government, that is completely eliminated with respect to the management of this, such that persons will clear items digitally, electronically. They will submit all of their documentation. All of the necessary legislation is in place with respect to the acceptance of digital signatures as authorized signatures, the provision of information digitally. It is there, and it is now incumbent upon us now to see that change management through to change the culture of the piece of paper.
Meantime, Health Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic today called for more attention to be paid to cybersecurity. During his contribution to the debate on the Customs Amendment Bill, he stressed that the security of the island's borders is critical for government to safeguard its citizens. He added that cybersecurity must not be taken for granted.
Our security regime encompasses air, sea, and land, and I would even venture to say, certainly within the last few years, that we ought to be looking at cyber security as well, because that is becoming a serious threat, not only to national security, but it is an international threat, and that is an area that we have to focus on as well. As far as air security is concerned, the APIS and the ACIS will be the cornerstone of that response, and also the fact that immigration and customs or border security officers play a vital role in that regard.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley has hailed the contribution of the Moravian Church to the development of Barbados and the wider Caribbean. Mottley was addressing the opening service of the 32nd Provincial Synod of the Moravian Church, Eastern West Indies Province last night. She recalled the church's role in securing education and employment for newly emancipated slaves and urged members to be mindful of their mission to serve.
In our own case in this country, the Parliament passed the most iniquitous piece of legislation in the form of the Relocated Labourers Act, which meant that every worker, if you wanted to retain your housing on the plantation, would have to commit to working on that plantation. But what did your church do? Your church made it its own business to create not just schools, but to also train craftsmen. Giving people the option, recognizing fundamentally that freedom is about choice. And if you don't give people options, they don't have the ability to make choices for themselves and their families.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional happenings, Guyana's opposition leader Bart Jagdew is calling on CARICOM and the international community to press the David Granger administration to abide by the ruling of the Caribbean Court of Justice. The CCJ has ruled that last December's no-confidence motion was validly passed and the President and Cabinet ought to have resigned and the President and government remain in office as a caretaker until the next general elections. The court, however, said last Friday that it could not dictate a specific date for Guyanese to vote for a government of their choice, leaving the decision with the President, the opposition leader, and the Guyana Elections Commission.
According to Jagdew, the government will seek to defy and frustrate the judgment of the court.
The people who are on trial now here would be the international community. Are they prepared to accept the judgment of the highest court in Guyana? Are they prepared to accept the judgment of the CCJ? Because if they're prepared to accept the unambiguous ruling from the CCJ that elections have to be held in accordance with the Constitution, which means 3 months, that the government is caretaker government, and that GCOM must comply with the Constitution, then that will determine how they relate to this government.
On the international scene, the European Commission has elected its first female president. We get more in this report from CNN.
She was the dark horse candidate, the name few saw coming, the European Council's choice for the EU's top job, forced upon a fractured European Parliament, which had put forward a list of preferred nominees, but no one could command a majority. And so, unexpectedly, Ursula von der Leyen's name was put forward. Her overarching message, the need for unity.
If we are to go down the European path, we must first rediscover our unity. If we are united on the inside, nobody will divide us from the outside.
Von der Leyen was perhaps not the obvious choice to be the first female to lead the EU. She just resigned as Germany's defense minister, a position widely regarded as the poison chalice of German politics. The mother of 7, a doctor, educated at the London School of Economics, she was fond of singing, her childhood nickname, the Little Rose. She entered local politics in 2001, positioning herself to the left of Angela Merkel's Christian Democrats. But her candidacy for the Commission presidency was supported by Europe's hard right. Yet another potential stumbling block to securing a majority within the pro-EU Parliament. But little by little, von der Leyen won over skeptical MEPs, with promises to help strengthen its hand in deciding her successor in 5 years' time, and a commitment to new and ambitious green targets.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good evening.